Welcome to Alas, Fine and Hitchens. I am Sarah Vine.
And she is Sarah Vine. And I am Peter Hitchens.
I get the sense, Peter, that you're slightly annoyed about the fact that I'm Sarah Vine.
No. The very idea. How could you get that impression?
Anyway, this week, assuming we get that far, we'll be asking, should we really just be cleaning up our own mess? And Peter wants to know why people like me insist on using, and I quote, artificial foreign measurements. They're not artificial, they're just foreign.
They were completely invented. I'll tell
Join
you
us
all
after the
about
break.
it.
Welcome to Alas, Fine and Hitchens. I am Sarah Vine.
And I am Peter Hitchens, and she is Sarah Vine.
Okay, we're going to start with my topic, which actually was inspired by Peter, because Peter's been having a lot of arguments with people on the Twitter, which is terribly entertaining if you're not aware of Peter's presence. Actually, I must ask you, Peter, why is your handle on Twitter Clarke Micah?
Because if you have a name like Peter Hitchens, you'll find people have already got it and used it and are sitting on it.
Right.
And so you can't use your own name forwards or backwards.
Who is Clarke Micah?
There's no such person. I originally wanted it to be Micah Clarke, which is the name of one of my favourite books, but I found that someone had actually taken that as well.
That's so rude.
So I thought, the heck with this. I'll just put it backwards.
Okay.
And so that's it. I never thought it would matter, but it turns out to, because then now people can't actually find me on Twitter because they think I'll call myself Peter Hitchens, but I can't because somebody else has already stolen it.
That's very annoying. I can't.
What happens minor celebrity has many charms, but one of its uncharms is that on the internet your name gets used by other people.
Well, yes, I can't.
Sometimes stupidly, sometimes
I'm not Sarah Vine. I'm Westminster Wag for that very reason.
Yeah.
So anyway, if you're interested in following Peter on X or Twitter, it's at Clarke
Micah Clarke. C-A-L-A-R-K-E, Micah, M-I-C-A.
Anyway, and it is
very
hilarious.
Very fine book, Micah Clarke by Arthur Conan Doyle.
Well, good, that's one for the book list. But anyway, it is hilarious because Peter spends a lot of his time arguing with mad people on the internet, which I think is hilarious. And one of the arguments that he was having this week with somebody was to do with cleaning ladies, I noticed.
It wasn't to do with it. It was to do with new Labour people hiring servants and, in fact, rejoicing in the case of one Andrew Neither about how immigration to this country made it easier
to hire a cleaning lady.
Servants, which he didn't use the term servants, but I do because that's what such people are.
Yes, well, although they get paid.
Yes, servants got paid.
Did they get paid?
Absolutely, not much, but they got paid. Okay. Yes, that was the arrangement.
So are you fundamentally against paying people to do domestic work?
No, not at all. I just think that the people who are against it or who claim to be against it tend to be left-wing.
Right.
So when they turn out to have nannies and cleaners who in many cases hail from other parts of the world, then it seems quite reasonable to tease them about it. Especially since they say, we've had this great wave of migration which makes it easier for people like me to have these things, which they do.
I think it's also quite interesting that people tend to prefer to have foreign nannies particularly because in my experience, people who are not from Britain are much better at looking after children than people who are from Britain. It's quite interesting. They have a set of values that are just generally more solid in relation to the family. I mean, I had obviously because I always worked, so I had a lot of nannies.
You've always gone out to work.
I've always gone out to work.
It's a different thing.
What do you mean?
Well, people can work without actually going out and being wage slaves.
Oh, you mean
I'm particularly annoyed by this expression "working women,"
right?
As if the only women who work are the women who go out and work in call centres or indeed slave away at newspapers.
Earning women,
wage slave women, women who've exchanged the old arrangement for the new arrangement of cash nexus and nothing else.
Yes, well, the problem with that is of course, owing to a number of factors, such as including house price inflation, it's almost impossible now to raise a family with just one salary.
But it's been designed that way.
Yes, well, very possibly. But having had lots of nannies in my lifetime as a employed woman, I've always found sort of Italians, Australians are very good with children, actually. But on the rare occasions where I've had an English nanny, it's never been a particularly happy experience because they don't... And I think this feeds into your argument that you were having on the internet, which is that I think British people struggle with the concept of doing what they would consider to be menial or service labour. And that's why we've ended up importing so many people.
Well, that can't be true. And the supreme type of nanny, the sort of nanny everybody who can really afford a proper nanny wants to have, is a Norland nanny.
No, it's not.
Trained in London and from a lovely English girls.
And wearing a nice brown uniform.
Well, I don't know about that.
No, they wear brown uniforms.
I'm not going to get into the uniforms, but this is the absolute epitome of the nanny.
Well, it is theoretically,
she is generally English.
It is theoretically, but I've always found Norland nannies, whenever I've encountered them, to be incredibly entitled and difficult. So, do you think that women who stay at home and do domestic work should be paid in some way?
Well, no. I remember when I was a Trotskyist in the 1970s, there was something called the Wages for Housework campaign, which I always thought was a Hidington. I think who was going to pay these wages exactly?
Well, couldn't they be paid? Couldn't they sort of have tax breaks and stuff like that?
Well, there certainly should be tax breaks. That is to say, the whole tax system shouldn't be designed to favour people with two incomes. And also to subsidise people who want to put their children into nurseries, which it is now. So it's somebody now who decides on one income, or a couple who decide on one income to raise their children. So there's always a parent at home. And I don't care if it's a male or female parent who's at home. I think there should be a parent at home. A couple who want to do that find that they're taxed to pay for other people to have cheap childcare, whereas they themselves get no tax benefit at all. The one person who can get no tax benefit from the inland revenue for raising a child is that person's own father or mother.
Well, and of course
absurdity.
We also have the situation with the so-called waspy women, where women who dropped out of the workplace to raise children find that when they get to pensionable age, they just don't really have anything in the pot, and unless they're lucky enough to have a husband who is either still alive or has a pension that covers them both, then they're in a difficult situation.
It's a separate issue, that one. But
but it is an important issue.
But the point remains that for a long time now, the tax and benefit system of this country, I think uniquely in Europe, is hostile
to anyone who stays at home.
Actual parenting.
Didn't there used to be something called a married persons? Wasn't there kind of when there tax incentives to be married for married couples? Gone. But that went.
Yeah, I think if you're about 120, you can still get it.
Right. Okay.
There's a little thing on the tax form which says, if you were born before 1937, do you wish to claim married persons allowance or something like that?
When was it abolished?
I think it was Nigel Lawson, but I'm not absolutely sure.
Yeah. No, I mean I agree with you, but the thing is, if in order for women to work outside the home and have children, which is often described as having it all, but is in fact doing it all, as we well know, you have to be able to get someone else to look after the children because you can't do both things.
That's as it is now, but until probably the 1970s, it was certainly what an awful lot of people strove for was to be able to, on one income, maintain a family. And then it became increasingly difficult. There were many reasons, but one of them was that governments decided they wanted to encourage this. And employers wanted to encourage this because they found women workers very reliable, pliant, useful, and they wanted to encourage women away from the task.
Well, also women wanted to work.
Well, the problem is that we have now millions and millions of children who haven't ever really been brought up by parents. Well, that's what makes the difference. It's huge.
I think the other thing that people forget about is, where I grew up, which was abroad, I know which is something you disapprove of strongly. There's a sort of
born abroad. I've got nothing
I'm just teasing you. There's a sort of vertical family structure. So quite often it'll be the grandmother who looks after the children if the mum's going out to work. And I think that's quite a nice way of doing it, actually.
It is, but it's not necessarily.
And do you not think in this country we could try and incentivize grandparents?
Attitudes that make me so cross is that until about the late 70s, early 80s, when the women's magazines started to write all their material as if staying at home and looking after children was a dishonourable, time-wasting, stultifying, stupid activity. All this Betty Friedan rubbish about how actually being at home was bad and being out at work was good. And this propaganda was shouted at women in huge quantities in that period.
Especially my generation.
And they were pushed into thinking, staying at home. Actually, I doubt whether any of us will ever have a more responsible occupation in our lives than the raising of the next generation. Yeah. But it's scorned. And also it gets no help at all from society or from the welfare system or from the tax system.
No, absolutely not. No. Well, that was one of the reasons I stopped editing, because I used to do subbing and editing and stuff and being in the office, and started writing because it meant that I could do it from home and therefore I was more available for the children. But you're completely right. Raising the next generation is a vitally important job, and women families get absolutely no help with it at all. And it is outsourced to various organisations, quite often not not terribly nice, and probably also owned by sort of private equity. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, almost everything is now.
Yes, exactly.
Your dentist, the vet, and everything else.
But I do think grandparents could be the key, because if you were to incentivise grandmothers or grandfathers even to spend more time with their grandchildren in some way, then,
Maybe they don't want to.
No, my mother never wanted to spend any time with my children.
Then basically quite a lot of people don't have available grandparents. Families are scattered now, so there may be grandparents, but they may live hundreds of miles away. It's not a practical way of solving the problem.
No, but
there is a slow but growing revolt against this, particularly in America, where some women are beginning to say, why is it that we've been talked out of engaging in the one occupation most of us would like to do on such a scale? And why is there so much pressure?
Well, it's interesting you say that, because I didn't really like having small children, and I was quite relieved when I was able to go back to work, because the babies used it. But my babe, I didn't like the baby stage. I liked the teenage young adult stage.
But was that partly because there was nobody else you knew doing it?
No, lots of people were doing it, and I found it incredibly dull. It was just very repetitive. It's just sort of, I like children. I don't particularly like babies, and I like teenagers and young adults because they're very interesting and they have brains and they're very sentient. Maybe it's when they become quite sort of chatty that I start to like them. But I did have postnatal depression, which is quite a nasty kind of condition, and I did find having small babies really sort of crushing. I didn't enjoy it at all. I was very glad to be able to have some help.
I think a lot of people who might have a reasonable time out of it have a dismal time out of it, because if they wanted to do that, they'd find that they were isolated, that there was hardly anybody within miles who was doing the same thing.
Yeah, I think everyone's circumstances are so different, aren't they? But I'm looking forward to looking after, if I ever have any grandchildren. I'm going to be very annoying and very involved grandmother. I can't wait. Because I like my daughter, I like my children, so I like spending time with them. So the idea of spending time with their children would be quite fun. And I
look forward to your memoirs, My Life as Grandmother.
I'm not sure I'll get there. But anyway, you should all look at Peter on the Twitter, because you are very entertaining. Did you see that someone mocked up a little thing of you dressed as a housemaid?
No.
It was very funny.
No, this is what artificial intelligence has come to.
It is what artificial. This is why whole banks of computers in California are being deployed.
A picture of me. The air is overheating over there. It's why all these things are happening. But there's another one of me flinging myself over the cliff as a lemming, which, by the way, lemmings do not do.
No, where did that myth come from? I don't know. The listeners might be interested in some statistics on domestic help. Yes, 17% of UK households pay someone to clean their homes. See, I thought it would be more. I'm a terrible cleaner. This equates to roughly 4.8 million households, based on an estimated 28 million households in the UK. And the number of households using domestic cleaners has increased in recent years, with some research indicating a 70% increase since 2018. So that's quite interesting. I mean, presumably, you were telling me earlier that you were just fixing a water pump, so you're quite handy in the domestic sphere.
No, not at all. I'm quite tidy, though. I could live in a place for a week and you'd barely know I'd been there.
No, I'm the same. There
are people who could live in a place for 10 minutes and it's a tip.
No, it's like my daughter's she's like Pigpen. She walks into a room and it immediately explodes. Yes. Anyway, if any of you would like Peter to come and fix your water pump or clean your house, do get in touch. It's alas at mailonline.co.uk.
It's only the junction box. I couldn't do the pump. Saved my life.
See, he can do a junction box. I don't even know what a junction box is. After the break, we'll be talking about measurements. Peter's measurements.
Your measurements.
Do join us.
Welcome back. She is Sarah Vine. I am Peter Hitchens, and I want to ask Sarah why it is she persists in using made-up foreign measurements when she could use perfectly good British ones. The other day you wrote in the paper about a knife being 20 centimetres long.
Yes. Well,
I have to do an act of arithmetic to work out what that means. It's 8 inches. And so I now know how long the knife was, but I have to do a translation first, because a centimetre to me is nothing. And the reason for this is that centimetres are invented. Two Frenchmen, one called Delambre, one called Micah, set out in about 1780-something to walk a long, long distance, I think from Marseille to Dunkirk. And out of this, they intended to develop a completely new system of measurement based on the Earth's surface.
Right.
They got lost and they got it wrong. And on this is based a thing called the metre. And on the metre is based the whole of the rest of the metric system, which is all wrong.
See, I was taught...
And it doesn't mean anything.
Okay.
All the measurements which we use here and which everybody else used to use all over the world in slightly different forms before the metric system came in are a pound is pretty much what you can hold in your hand.
Right.
A pint is what you can drink conveniently in one sort of session. And all the other things, the inch and the yard and the foot, are all based on the human body. So they're human. They're bottom up. The metric system was designed by a committee, just as a camel is a horse designed by a committee, and it doesn't actually work.
Camels do, though, exist.
No relation to human reality, and so you have to, if you've had any acquaintance at all with proper measurements, you have to constantly translate them into proper measurements before you can work out what people mean. And when people give the weight of a baby in kilograms, I and about, I think, 60% of the population in this country cannot work out from the kilogram weight whether it's the size of a large tomato or of a baby elephant.
Well, in answer to your question, I have the same in reverse. If someone says to me a pound of sugar, it's just literally meaningless. I don't understand what it is. Or a yard, I don't understand what that is. I don't really understand what an inch is. It's very confusing for me.
But you've been here for years. Haven't you had time to integrate?
Well, you know, the thing about this metric system is that it's tens. It goes up in blocks of 10, which is sensible.
Yeah, it's like a peasant counting his toes.
Well, I think
it's incredibly crude. You can't divide it by 3.
You have 10 fingers.
What is the use of a system which can't be divided by 3?
But you have 10 fingers and you have 10 toes, and therefore that makes perfect sense to me. But I was also told that it was based on Roman military arrangements, because the idea of going up in tens, because centurions is 100 soldiers, so centimetre, century, 100 years. So it's a Latin-based system. But yours is a mad Celt-based system. It's probably just based on, how many druids you can fit into a bucket of stones. I don't know.
Things needing to be divided into quarters, which the metric system won't do, and into thirds.
You can divide things into quarter with the metric system. It's 250.
Some things cannot be turned into decimal systems. For instance, when the metric decimal maniacs were fully in charge in France in the 1790s, they introduced a decimal time system.
Right.
10 hours in the day, I think. 10 days in the week, 10 months.
I mean, that makes perfect sense
well, it
to me.
just didn't work. It was it was maddening. It drove people around the bend. That you can still find, apparently, in very expensive antique shops in Paris, decimal clocks.
Okay.
They're beautiful.
I'd love one
useless.
of those.
They cost you a lot. But the thing is that it doesn't actually divide up conveniently that way. The reason for the divisions of time which we have is that it actually has something to do with the fundamental thing, which is the time it takes the Earth to rotate and the time it takes the Earth to go around the Sun.
Yeah, well, that makes sense.
Don't divide into tens.
I don't know.
Also, people hated the 10-day week. Do you want to guess why?
Well, because it's longer than a 7-day week.
Because the weekend came around less frequently. People got really cheesed off.
We have a 5-day week with a 2-day weekend. That works perfectly well. That's decimal. Isn't it?
You get 2 days
Come on,
off.
answer the question. 5 days on, 2 days off. It's decimal.
That's a 5 base, which is not.
What, 5 is half of 10?
You should learn these things. It's very simple.
But I don't want to. I'm perfectly happy with my metric system. It works very well for me, thank you.
For the Daily
I'm
Mail,
1 metre 72.
Huge numbers of your readers don't know what you mean when you describe something as being 20 centimetres long.
No, that's a good point. And I apologise to any reader who doesn't know what I mean when I say 22 centimetres. It's about that much.
It's 8 inches, 20 centimetres, 8 inches. Because, and here's another fascinating thing. If you, which you have done, attend a school on the continent of Europe where the metric system has been brutally imposed, either by invaders or dictators, which is how it always comes about. Then the ruler that you are given in class, how long is it?
30 centimetres.
Exactly, what is that? It's a foot.
It's 30
but
centimetres.
There is no foot in the metric system, so they have to have a 30-centimetre ruler, because if you had a metre ruler, it would be ridiculous.
What is 30 centimetres in inches?
30 centimetres is roughly 12 inches, pretty much.
Fine.
It's not exact, but 30 centimetres is a foot, which is a convenient measure natural to the human person.
I have my sat-nav set to kilometres.
Well, kilometres. If you're going to have these things, can you at least pronounce them properly?
No, it's kilometres.
A kilometre would be kilometre would be a thing for measuring kilos.
No, but it's
because of my speedometer is a thing for measuring speed.
So in Italian it's chilometro. That's why I pronounce it like. So it's kilometre, is it?
Yes. So you'll find, if you look up, that until quite recently, Italy had pounds and ounces, and indeed miles, which is reflected in the names of some places in Italy.
Italy is not a very well-regulated country on the whole.
Several different countries.
It's not really a country. It's just a series of sort of rather angry people who've been shoved together in a boot-shaped piece of land.
Let's not have so much of this Islamophobia.
But I don't understand why you care so much.
Because the other lot care. Because
Who's the other lot?
If left alone, because
I don't care.
The metricators care.
And if you said to me, I won't speak to you ever again unless you work in pounds, inches and ounces, I'd say fine.
Left to my own devices, I'd never have minded. I grew up in a country where 12 inches made a foot and 3 feet made a yard, and 22 yards made a chain.
Oh, my head hurts.
10 chains made a furlong, and 8 furlongs.
Don't say furlong. What is a furlong?
5 furlongs make a kilometre.
Oh,
Does that help you? They're also still.
You're going to start talking about hands in a minute, aren't you?
Furlongs are still used at the races.
What is a furlong?
A furlong is 10 chains. There are 8 of them in a mile.
What is it in centimetres?
In centimetres?
Or in miles? Kilometres?
Well, it's 2
kilometres.
Let me just. 5 furlongs make a kilometre.
Okay, well, that's sensible.
That should help you. Okay?
No, that's very sensible.
Because a kilometre is 5/8 of a mile.
Yes, very good. Oh, God. Okay.
Well, the other thing about it's very good.
Why is everything 5/8?
All these things I grew up with, and I also grew up with 12 pence in
shillings, pounds,
20
pence,
shillings in a pound. And suddenly people came along and said I couldn't have these things anymore, and they were really, really determined about it. They was what I'd been brought up with and had been taught laboriously in school to remember was abolished by decree. And I thought, why do they care so much?
I think that maths of the imperial system is slightly harder than the maths of the metric system, isn't it?
It means
and that's why I think we ended up with the metric system
in my childhood, if you ever got the wrong change, if you were short-changed in a shop, you knew that it was because someone was trying to cheat you,
right?
Because everybody, having grown up with the old money system, and indeed the old weights and measures, having taught them very firmly at school, they got it right. We were all very good at mental arithmetic, but now, if you get the wrong change, it's almost certainly because the person giving it
you're not likely to get any change because you just pay by card, don't you?
Or has pressed the wrong button. Well, I still do sometimes pay cash. But the thing, it's not me, it's the passion of the people who told me you can't have this anymore. And then when I went to live for a couple of years in the United States in the early 1990s, and returned to a system where it was still all pints and gallons and miles and yards and feet. It was such a joyous relief. I thought, and here we are. I thought, we're in the most economically successful country in the world, the country which managed to get to the moon in miles and yards. So all this rubbish about the metric system being technically superior was
I'm not saying it's technically superior.
I thought, why can't I have this at home in its own country where it came from? Why do people want to stop me? It's them, not me.
Do you think this is secretly a French thing that you've got here?
No, I love France. I'm a
Is it just because it was the French people?
But the French hated the metric system when it was imposed on them so much that Napoleon moderated it because he could see that it was very unpopular. And if you go and buy butter from farmers in Normandy, they'll sell it to you in livres. And here's another thing. Bottles of wine.
Okay, yes. Very
important.
What
measure are they sold?
Very important.
In what measure are they sold?
They're not sold in litres.
They're not sold in litres.
750
now
millilitres.
they've tidied it up to 75 centilitres. But it was 72 or 73 for many years. Do you know what that is the equivalent of?
I imagine it's a foot or something, or furlong.
It's a fine old English measure called a bottle. Since we bought so much wine,
they thought they'd put it in our measurement.
In English bottles.
That's clever.
And that's why. And it's no decent wine. I mean, you can get filthy rotgut in litre bottles.
Get it in boxes,
and things like that. But no decent wine, no decent Burgundy or claret or any German or Italian wine. No Barolo, no Barbaresco will ever be sold to you in a litre bottle. Now, why is that?
Where's the bottle? What's the origin of the bottle size?
It was some 100 moose or something.
Has it been found in a
the
field?
reign of Edward III.
Yes.
I don't know,
but
I traced it because I was fascinated.
No, that's
I
really
love anomalies.
Interesting.
I think anomalies.
And what about all the sort of other sizes of bottles, like a Nebuchadnezzar or a what are they called, or a Magnum and all that sort of stuff?
But they're all based on a bottle, aren't they?
They're all based on a bottle, on multiples of bottle.
Yeah. It's beautiful too. You can put.
It's a bit like wearing gold and silver. It's a sort of mixed metals thing for me.
Let me go back to the poem I attempted to recite last week. I have promises to keep and kilometres to go before I sleep, and kilometres to go. It doesn't work, does it? And then Hamlet saying, "Get thee to my lady's chamber. Go tell my mother. Let her paint 2.3 4 centimetres thick. To this favour she must come. It doesn't go. But if you have an inch instead, it works.
It doesn't go.
These are natural words from natural speech. They don't look as if they've been invented by poor old Mr. Delambre and poor old Mr. Méchat.
But they got it from somewhere. They didn't dream it up.
The French were trying to remake the world in a horrible, orderly fashion at the time.
But isn't that what we've always done, the Brits? Don't we always like to remake the world in a horrible, orderly fashion?
Not a horrible,
like
orderly
lawns
fashion.
in
nice,
India and places like
British
that.
fashion.
Okay, fine. Right. It's a tiny jingoistic bit, maybe.
Well, I am a
little.
British patriot. I'm not a jingo.
Good.
Absolutely reverse. Jingos are warmongers. You know the origin of the sound jingo.
No, but I'm very much looking forward to hearing it.
We don't want to fight, but by jingo, if we do, we've got the ships, we've got the men. These days, the British refrain is, we don't want to fight, but by jingo, if we do, we've got no ships, we've got no men, we've got no money too. But jingoism is about war. It's not about loving your country.
Okay, all
so
right.
don't
Do I mean
mix those two things
then?
up. What?
Do I mean xenophobia, or is that something else entirely?
No, they can do what they like. If I'm in a foreign country and they ask me to use decimal coins and metric measurements, I'm happy to do so. It's their country. So I don't want to hear.
Do most colonial countries, post-colonial countries, still use the imperial measurements? Does India?
The United States of America, that's the most post-colonial country you can get.
So they do.
The Canadians and the interestingly enough, apartheid South Africa was one of the first of the former imperial countries to go metric and decimal.
And look what happened to that country.
What you like.
Yes, exactly. And on that bombshell, I'd like to apologise to everybody who doesn't understand centimetres, and I will try to be more considerate. I don't really care, so I'm happy to move over to Imperial if it makes you happy, Peter. Really, honestly.
Right. Okay, I'll look forward to it.
But I don't really understand any of it, so we may have to go on a field trip.
I can easily give you simple.
There may have to be a small field trip, and possibly some templates, so that I don't make any silly mistakes.
If you go to Trafalgar Square, all the English measurements are up on the wall.
Okay.
It's underneath the National Gallery.
Are they?
In brass, yeah.
Right, I didn't know that.
No, I'm full of information.
You are full of information today. Should we do some letters or emails and all that sort of stuff?
I've been going on a bit.
You can go. No, you go first. Yeah. You go first.
Really?
Well, all right, I'll go first then. Dear Sarah and Peter, alas, I absolutely love your podcast and listen to it every week. Thank you so much for all the great content. I just finished reading 2 books on Christianity. One was Peter Hitchens' book, The Rage Against God, and the other was Tom Holland's book, Dominion. Peter makes the argument that Britain's nearly 1,000-year association with Christianity helped to create a uniquely free and fair country. This I very much agree with. However, Holland argues that many of the ideas that are prevalent in society today have their roots in Christianity. He specifically talks about Marxism, originating from the Christian precept of we are all made equal in the eyes of God, and the last shall be the first, and the first shall be the last. Bearing this in mind, does Peter believe that the argument can be made that much of what is currently leading to the bankrupting/destruction of Britain, namely the fact that our current government, brackets, Euro-communists, close brackets, have replaced the traditional working class with the working class of the third world? This wokeism and radical progressivism comes from Christianity. Is it not correct to both say that Christianity has contributed to making one of the freest and fairest countries in the world, but is also contributing to its destruction? Thanks again, and hopefully meet you both in person. Best, Cassandra.
Well, Cassandra, no. You're incorrect.
It was a very good email.
The difference between being equal in the eyes of God is totally different from being equal in the eyes of the world. People are obviously hugely unequal in temporal terms, but equality in the eyes of God is a different sphere. And it's all part of the great problem which we've had is that when people have stopped believing in God, they've still had ideals and they want to make things better, and they try to create worldly utopias. And then they find other people don't like the utopias which they wish to create, so they lock them up, put them into prison camps and kill them. And having first of all messed up the countries in which they do this, it's a different thing. The desire to make an earthly heaven and the belief that there is heaven in eternity are 2 wholly distinct beliefs, and people really shouldn't mix them up.
Well, there you go. There's your answer,
it's okay. If you ask, I can.
Peter, you should do the next one because it's a question for you.
This is from Brendan Berry. He says, I might also know the old journalist's story, which he believes is true. The British television reporter broadcasting his live piece to camera from a street in a city he constantly referred to Mumbai even when a white van drove by in the shot, proudly displaying in bold letters the logo Bombay Plumbing Company. Well, indeed, I find that totally easy to believe. When I was in supposed Mumbai, almost everything in the city, from the Supreme Court to the main railway station, was still called Bombay, and almost everybody I met still called it Bombay as well.
It is still Bombay duck, isn't it?
Yes, it's indeed. It's still Peking duck.
Or is it? No, Peking duck. Sorry, not Bombay duck.
It's Peking duck. This Bombay duck is not a duck. It's some.
No, it's not a duck.
Some dried fish or
something else.
Crumbled
Yes.
into your curry.
I don't really know.
I haven't seen it for a long while. Bangalore torpedo. Come to that. What's that? It's a firework.
What is a Bangalore torpedo?
It was a firework.
Was it?
It was.
Good heavens.
In my childhood, you had Roman candles, Catherine wheels, and Bangalore torpedoes. But I haven't seen one for quite a long time.
They'd probably be banned under some sort of EU convention.
I wouldn't be a bit surprised.
Yes.
Your turn.
Dear Sarah, Peter, hope you are both well, loving the pod. When I was listening, I was struck by Sarah's views on modern rock stars. Where does she rank Oasis among the rock greats? And how much do you think the Mail on Sunday would have to part with to get Peter to report on the reunion tour? This is from James Floyd.
I am not for sale.
You say that. James, I think Oasis are brilliant, actually. I love them. I'm very much in the Oasis camp when it comes to Blur versus Oasis, and I remember that.
Aren't they just a copy of something else?
No, they're not.
Okay.
They're really good. You should listen to some of their songs.
Well, I listened to about 20 seconds and concluded they were a copy of something else, but I won't say
But for me, they are similar to the Rolling Stones in that they perfectly encapsulate the spirit of every good rock band, which is that they're basically just in it for the money, the sex, and the drugs, which is exactly what you should be doing rock and roll for if you're doing it for anything else.
Why would you give them their money then?
What?
Why would you give them your money?
Because they sing well.
Because they're so blatantly drunk.
No, and their songs are very. I think their songs really are actually straight to the heart. They do. I mean, for a couple of lads who seem to be quite sort of fighty, they do seem to be quite in touch with their emotions, and that comes through in the songs.
I don't think that's necessarily a good thing.
No, I know. I suspect that's something you disapprove of. Yes, no being in touch with one's emotions.
No, say not.
Right. Oh,
too much of
gone
this
mad.
stuff.
What is going on?
Getting in touch, finding yourself.
Okay,
well, what happens? The whole world has found itself and it sits at home, not working.
Well, I mean,
found themselves.
They haven't found themselves.
What have they found when they got there?
Stop it. Shut up and read another letter.
All right, this is from Henry, who writes, as a 21-year-old, I do agree that the music nowadays is often banal and uninteresting, although he personally wouldn't say Coldplay is the most, that's in capitals, boring band. I think Peter is right, of course I am, when he says many young people in our culture are deprived of the joy of classical music and its poetic language. Looking back, I realised how fortunate I was that my mother encouraged me to attend my local church choir. There's something deeply moving and wonderful about Anglican choral music that I quickly grew to love. My personal favourite is an anthem by Sir Henry Walford Davis based on a passage from the Beatitudes, Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. I highly recommend it if you haven't listened to it already. Thank you for taking time. He loves the podcast and looks forward to every episode.
See, I love singing in church because I'm a terrible singer. I make a dreadful noise, but the only place where you can sing if you're a terrible singer and no one seems to mind is church. Yeah, I like going to church. I like having a good old sing-song on a Sunday.
Is that why you go, sing, or do you have other reasons?
No, I go because you get away from the world. It's a meditative space.
Do you go to a happy clappy church?
God, no. I go to the one over the road. Some Harry Abbott's.
All right. Okay.
It's not at all happy or clappy.
Well, I don't know. I'm just checking.
No, there's no happy clapping. I like quite a stern church.
You like a stern church?
I like a very stern church. Right. Yes, right. I like to be, but I mainly like the singing. That's why I go, because I can trumpet away in my terrible honk, and nobody seems to mind. No,
well, people shuffle away from me when I sing. For certain. No.
Do you sing in a very sort of deep baritone?
Not particularly, no. It would be a growl if I did it like that. But I was never any good at singing as a child.
No.
I was never in any choir. I remember once being asked to sing Hark the Herald Angels Sing when they were selecting people for the choir at one of my many schools. Yeah. And I'd got to Hark and they said, thank you very much.
No, I'm the same.
Don't call us.
And the thing is, I've always wanted to be able to sing. It's one of the things I would just love to be able to do. And it is just... It's just, I
sing as I ride along on my bicycle, but mainly because I'm convinced that the people on the cars in front of me will turn across me if they can't hear some sort of noise. So the bicycle's too quiet.
Oh gosh, no! If I was singing on my bicycle, I would clear the road.
There is another good reason for singing, which is going up steep hills. Somehow or other, singing makes hard work seem less hard.
It absolutely does, but also singing is really good for you. I mean, I've got lots of friends who are members of choirs, and they say that it is just very calming. I think it's just because it's a bit like yogic breathing. You know, when you have to breathe in a certain way, and it sort of slows everything down. And
I think there's much more to it than that.
Okay.
Yoga.
Have you ever done yoga?
No, I did. I was once urged to go to a Pilates session.
Yes,
and I nearly died of boredom. I thought this is bad for my health. No, thank you. No yogic breathing for me.
Dear Sarah and Peter, I listened with interest to Peter's frustration at cities being renamed. Add to the list Kolkata and Chennai. Surely one of the more ridiculous stances taken by British officialdom is to insist on their British passports that individuals who were born in Salisbury and Rhodesia prior to 1980 were actually born in Harare, which they plainly were not. Political correctness gone mad.
Yes, it's an interesting point, that, isn't it? It would be annoying to have your hometown. Have your hometown's name changed. Most people in the world undergo this all the time. In fact, there are certain parts of Eastern Europe where you can move from country to country maybe 3 or 4 times in your life without even leaving your home, because the countries keep moving. And my favourite of these is the city currently called Lviv, which was previously called Lvov, and then before that it was called Lvov with a W instead of a V, and then it was called Lemberg.
Brilliant.
And that's just in the course of a century.
Where were you born?
I was born in Slima in Malta, which still has the same name as far as I know. But when I was born in it, it was Malta GC, because the George Cross was awarded to the entire island for its endurance.
Why were you born in Malta?
My father was in the Navy. Oh. And in those days, we had a Navy, and it had still had a substantial station in Malta.
Yes.
And I was born in Swansea. The Mediterranean Fleet, which we
They're not going to change the name of Swansea, are they?
It has a Welsh name, doesn't it?
Yes, I have no idea what that is.
Well, you should.
Sorry, yes, I know I should. There are so many things I should do. One final question. Dear Peter and Sarah, what do you both think about talk of wealth taxes to reduce the vast wealth inequality the country faces? I mean, I think that's actually a podcast, isn't it? This is from Seb Longridge. It might be,
except that I have no expertise. All I know about wealth taxes is that when they've been tried in practice, they've tended not to work.
They just drive the wealthy away.
If your country is... There's many things that people think are good ideas only work if you have a dictatorship. If you can close the borders and say you can't leave.
Yeah, but you've got to give us all your money, yeah.
I mean, I do think there are great inequalities, but I'm not at all sure that the wealth tax is a way of dealing with them.
I mean, I think also if you...
I wish it were that easy.
But if Britain is essentially now a service economy, so if you drive out wealthy people who basically spend all their money in this country, then you're starting to have problems.
There are grotesque
grotesque inequalities, yes,
in this country at the moment, and they've been caused partly by the sort of robber capitalism, which has been encouraged by so many people really now for the past 45 odd years. But I don't think what will happen with any tax of this kind is it will punish the middle classes who can't afford the sort of lawyers and accountants.
Yes,
or the homes abroad, which allow them to escape. But the really rich will escape any tax system you care to come up with.
Absolutely. So I think probably, Seb, in answer to your question, probably not on reflection.
No, but I understand your...
I understand your question, and I understand the preoccupation. Anyway, I think that's all we have time for. I shall go away and do my homework, which is to look at things in inches and furlongs. And please keep sending your emails. You can contact us at alas@mailonline.co.uk. You can leave a comment on Spotify or even send us a voice note on WhatsApp. That's 07796 657 512. And please start your message with the word alas. I also want to say, if you have any suggestions for things that you'd like us to discuss, do send them in.
We won't necessarily do it, though.
No, but we might think about it.
We might think about it. We promise to think about it.
You were so grumpy today. What's wrong with you?
Yes,
you're very grumpy.
My normal self. I'm just not committing myself to discussing anything anybody suggests. Thanks all the same.
And do follow Peter on the X. It's very funny. Thank you.
And on TikTok.
Oh yes, of course. Oh, yes, because you're on the TikTokies now, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yes, I feel very bad because I've done
synergy.
I've done 2 TikToks and then I got very bored, and they take an awful long time to do. It's very time consuming.
I have a certain amount of help with TikTok.
Oh, do you?
I do. It's very nice.
Is it paid help, Peter?
Not by me. It isn't paid, no.
Can I get the paid help?
I would imagine you probably
Okay, we'll talk about that after the show.
I can only say that I should pay tribute to the fact that I have.
Well, I do hope that they are not, it's not imported help, and I hope it's British help.
Well, is that because you're left wing?
No, I'm just teasing you because you said that people shouldn't have foreign cleaners.
It's very British help.
Good, okay. Right, thank you. Bye-bye, everyone.